Hello, everyone.
Thank you.
I'm Nori from Planetway. So, let me just quickly introduce about Planetway and what we are doing in Japan. First of all, who I am is I am Japanese, and I was never so good at matching in the Japanese educational system, so I ran away from Japan, went to Canada and the US to study aerospace engineering and marketing. I have done like 3 times startup in my lifetime and 1 time liquidation. And right now, we are actually utilizing Estonian e-government technology XRoad, implementing into the Japanese private sectors mainly. And what Planetway is that we are a global startup. We have a headquarters in the US and R&D center in Estonia, and we have business cases in Japan. 40% of our employees are Estonian, and others are Japanese and a mix of different diversities. Those are the leadership. As you can see, a lot of non-Japanese and Japanese mixed up with the diversities. This is our history. We won like few global awards, and right now we are focusing on one of the energy company and one of the local government in Japan to implement this XRoad, to utilize the system, and also bring back the data ownership. So this is a simple picture of what the XRoad is, and you probably know some of it, but citizens, if you have one IDs, they don't need to carry any other IDs. 99% of the government system is pretty much digitalized because of this XRoad. So what we are doing is try to make it to the private sector rights, XRoad into the Planet Cross, and digital ID platform and Planet ID for universal ID platform. And we really try to regain the ownership of data. Right now, the data has been misused or like monopolized by giant American companies or like Chinese government or any other companies in the market there. But I really want to get this ownership back to each persons. So each persons can actually control their data by their consent base. So this is getting actually really big wave in Japan. Sometimes people call it data banks and consent management. So I'm going to explain a little bit later about what we do. But let me just explain about the data privacy in Japan and the little problem. Here, you can see 2,000 problems. This is not the 2,000-year problems. Actually, there are 2,000 different regulations in terms of how to treat with the personal data. So many people think we need to integrate all the 2,000 different laws into one universal law. It will take some, I don't know, long time. And a lot of people in Japan still lack of IT literacy, so they are really afraid their data has been misused. But as you may know, GAFA or all kind of like big companies actually using the data to make some money. And not many people in Japan are not aware of it. So they are very skeptical about how the data will be utilized. So we need to actually try to educate the people and also, of course, clean up the laws. But to change Japan from central government perspective is almost impossible. So we figure that if we can start one movement from private sector, it might change Japan in a right way. So this is almost now here, but we should also consider those things like laws and regulations and data credibilities. And one of the IT system in Japan is also huge problems. We need to utilize the system. And there are still a lot of paper use in Japan, so we need to change that too. And long-term trends, we believe that data management business will create another value in the society. and also like information or data consent-based of the personal individuals will create next value also, and then it's going to be useful for AIs and government. So I think right now there are like a few different perspectives about how to treat with your personal data. Here it says that American way, Chinese way, Russian way, maybe UAE, I don't know, but those kind of like countries pretty much has all the power over the personal data. So private sectors or government controls everything. But I think this European way or like Estonian way of the data belongs to individual is quite strong. So that's why we are trying to bring this XRoad technology to Japan. So it's going to be the bridge between the whole Asia and the EU to make a fourth generation of how to treat your personal data, which is exactly like what MyData is trying to get. So our goal is to make things happen from Japan, but Japan is only as a showcase to the world. So if you can prove these things are proven in Japan, Japan is still considered as one of the top country. Always customer ask for highest quality of services, highest quality of customer support. So if you can satisfy Japanese people, this can go to any other countries. But if you stick in Japan only, it's going to be pretty much Galapagos market or overspec. So we really focused on three different sectors. One is enterprise, another one is government, and the third one is personal. So enterprise means like pretty much we utilize our enterprise system. Because Japan is so big and so many different IT companies are there, most of the large company doesn't know what to do with their IT system by themselves. So it's pretty much relying on the big software vendor or SIer. But when they try to utilize the system, they usually try to create a one big box or one big castle, for example. So those kind of things will cost a lot of money. So also the security perspective, it can cause a single point failure. So a lot of the Japanese people or company have started to realize they should change the way to the decentralized and also like don't put too much money on their own system, which was made by other people. And government sector, what we are doing is actually mainly the local government. Because as I said, central government is too big. You cannot actually, to be honest, you cannot actually too much trust central government. I mean, they can trust it, but they will take forever to change anything. So we are starting from central local government to change things. And there are actually 1,800 local governments in Japan. I think once we change one single local government, entire local government can be changed. That's what we are focusing on. And last one, personally, is actually, it's called like a data bank or information bank, which is kind of quite trendy in Japan. Basically, how to make your personal data valuable. These are the three factors what we are facing. And this is some example of like one of the DX components, which is digital signature, can bring what kind of impact. As you may know, Estonia already have used the digital signature, and they actually reduced the cost of the 2% of the GDP, annual GDP already. And every month, they don't have to use paper, which is equivalent to the Tokyo Tower height, 300 meters. But if you apply to Japan, only this digital signature, actually, they can reduce annually 10 billion euros and 30 kilometers of the paper tower every month. So DX can actually protect our Earth and also reduce the cost. And this is another example of what we have done in the energy company in Japan. As I said previously, a lot of Japanese companies are not good at integrating system in a cost-effective way. So before, this company has 4 different children company, and when they get a call from customers, average time of the service to the customer delivery is about 6 minutes. But once they implemented XRoad-based technology with search portal, actually it became less than 1 minute to deliver the service. And searching data is actually 0.1 second. So it actually improves work efficiency more than 6 times already. So they are now using it for their entire customer base for the call center. So in Japan, there is problem called 2040. It's pretty much aging problem. When it becomes 2040, a lot of population decreases, so they cannot actually operate what they have been doing, what they are doing right now. So the cost-effective solution is quite important. This is example. So for example, if this company uses XRoad to utilize their system, every year they utilize about 4,200 person days per year, and every year they reduce the 2.1 million euros cost. But if you're talking about larger utility company, it can be up to, let's say, 650,000 person days per year, and they can actually cover about 30 million euros per year for the cost reduction. We also announced about MOU with one of the famous local government in Japan. It's Ichikawa city. So they basically try to utilize the system by Estonian XRoad. But as you may not know, I would like to explain about local government problem in Japan. There are 1,800 local governments, but only about 70 local governments are financially stable. So which means other 1720 local governments are like not stable. They basically waiting for the money to central government to fund. And also the problem I say, 2040 problem, some scientists say that in 2040, more than 50% of the local government will be disappeared if they keep the same operation. So they really need to change the system from now on. Otherwise, 50% of the city in Japan will be disappeared, or their local government will be disappeared. And I think this can be one of the rollout model for the local government DX in Japan. And this is another concept for super city. Basically, local government try to change the city as kind of like, because there are so many regulations in Japan, you cannot actually do any new things. But in this super city concept, you don't have to worry about too much about the regulations. You can pretty much do anything without, regardless of any regulation or laws. But this is very important. Not only just local government can change it. So there is a very important thing is that the enterprise sector to closely cooperate and co-create the environment together. And nowadays, Estonian e-government technology is quite unique, and a lot of local government and the private sectors are interested. But important message is that we need to come up with, make sure that there is a strong use case to make sure that the citizens or people are comfortable enough and satisfied enough to share their data. We need to make sure what kind of benefit individual person can get. That is things what we are trying to achieve in Japan. So that's my presentation. If you have any further questions or any maybe future discussion, here's my number and my email and website. So please feel free to contact me anytime. Thank you so much.